Hey guys, it's Clary Berry. I just wanted to talk with you guys for a little bit. I have a lot of questions and comments that I have are about like the little things that come up. Like I'll make a comment like, oh, I don't really want to eat that. It's got a lot of salt in it. Or like a lot of times I don't even say what it is. I'll just say, oh, no thanks. They'll be like, what? Well, like, why don't you want to eat that? Just well-meaning people who are close to me, and people who are just curious too. So, then, the reactions that you get a lot of times are, oh, psh, like, a little bit of salt's not gonna hurt you. Like, a little bit of that. Oh, like, you're becoming like a crazy person. Like, you can't like get psycho about it, Claire. You can't, cut out everything. Like, blah, blah, blah. It's funny because I find that with veganism, people think that like vegans are just all assholes, and really, it's not like they walk around thinking like, oh, well, like this is in my experience that I can say at least. I'm not like walking around thinking like, oh, I'm better than people, but people are curious, so they ask me, and then they in fact engage me on why what I'm doing is wrong. And so when people, just say like vegans are assholes and they just want to talk about it, like just keep in mind, how many times I have to deal with this, and people want to talk about it. And sometimes, I may not feel like talking about it, but I do anyways. And also, people are like, oh, vegans always want to put it in your face. Well, just walk down the street and like you're smelling the hamburger joints and people grilling in their backyards. And then you go on your Facebook and, oh, your vegetables are offending people. Sorry. But like, there's like slabs of dead carcasses like everywhere in the summertime, like right in front of your face. And I don't want to let that like get in the way of any of my relationships. But, it does. The fact is, it does get into, some of the relationships. And, I just want to say that being a vegan doesn't mean you're a zealot. Thinking that a vegan diet is the most optimal diet doesn't mean that you're a zealot or that you're psycho or obsessed or that you think that you're better than people or anything. It really doesn't mean that. I do believe 100% that all humans are made to eat a frugivorian diet, a fruitarian diet, mostly fruits and a little bit of greens, and that's it, pretty much just like the apes. I think that it's nonsense that people say you can't get these certain nutrients and omegas out of, your fruit and your vegetables. It's silly, it's nonsense, and it hasn't been proven. The only thing they can ever say is that, in normal, standard American people, that nutrient absorption on raw fruits and vegetables is a little bit less because they don't have the enzymes. But once you get the enzymes, it's a whole nother story. There's a lot I could say about this. But anyway, I really, just yeah, that. Did you see that? Did you get a good look at that? It's one that's good to look at and really study it. And that's why, people want to make judgments against vegans and because they talk you they want to engage vegans before they look into what they're talking about. And it's fine if you want to ask vegans questions, but please don't just automatically assume that because a person has a different opinion that they came to their opinion just because two people. I mean, I've literally had people close to me tell me that I'm just listening to Durian and Freely because I'm obsessed with them and I don't really check out anything that they say and blah, 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 blah. Like, really? Do you really honestly think that that I changed my whole entire lifestyle and everything in it, like, just because two people told me to? Like, come on, give me some credit. And also judge by results. People want to say meat eating is so great. Look at all the people out there who are eating meat. Look at the people who are getting meat at the grocery store. I don't care if it's your Costco organic or down at the farm. It's not what I want to look like. It's not how I want to be. It's not what I want to support. None of it. So I have these strong opinions, and it's difficult when you have these strong opinions. And I changed what I used to think, and now that I changed, people automatically think that I'm better than them. Whereas I'm not judging anybody because I was in the same boat 6 months ago. I was in the same boat 1 year ago, you know? So how could I judge somebody? Even if I think I found the truth, just because I found the truth doesn't mean anything, doesn't mean that I should lecture you or want to do that. And I just feel that it's really unfair that people, act like that towards vegans. And y'all need to back off, honestly. Like I said, if you want to discuss, like I am down for sitting there discussing people, but don't just tell me that, I'm a zealot and, you know, I'm gonna, you know, I don't even know. I don't even know. So yeah, sorry, I had to stop myself on that little rant there because it's getting a little out of hand. But yeah, really, this video is not even about like this whole idea of being a zealot and you know being egotistical and whatnot. The reason I bring this up during this video is because it's difficult to talk about some of the more intricate things of like the 80-10-10 diet and the banana girl diet whenever people don't understand them. And that's why I want to talk to you guys about this subject for a little bit. Um, you know, those ingredients, you know, those things that you learn about last about this diet. Like, you know, you should do, you know, basics. You know, you should eat a lot of fruit, you know, drink a lot of fruit, eat your salads, you know the basics, sleep, water, all of that. Then you start learning about, okay, the pickles and the sauerkrauts and the fermented items, vinegar, salt, chocolate, onions, garlic, peppers, seaweed, spirulina, Bragg's, like liquid aminos, different things, the psyllium husks, agave, nutritional yeast. These are all, I'm reading it from 30 Bananas a Day, a lot of resources on there, and you can research, you can get a lot of leads on links and everything and what to research by going to 30 Bad. I really recommend it. Again, this is not just two people telling everybody else what to do. Really, it's been a community effort from, you know, the get-go. And and it talks about the nuts too. So I just want to look into just a few of these and kind of let people know basically what the deal is. And like I said, I've been doing a little bit of research on this. People ask me about it, and I'll look it up. And, you know, as far as I know, everything jives with me and also how I feel and what I've been eating, you know, backing up because I also like to, you know, really get my own truth, you know, so I'll try something and I'm not going to, oh, never eat it again just because somebody said so. I'll try it and see how I feel. And honestly, when you're taking better care of your body and you're eating so clean, like you can really start to feel when you do things that make you feel less than optimal. So it's kind of a really good, you know, gauge. So fermentation, people, honestly, everybody thinks that it's really healthy. And I was still thinking when I found this diet that it was really a really healthy food. And it really, you know, the idea behind the fact that it's not healthy is a lot of the byproducts that are made when you decompose. Now, whether food is decomposing outside or inside of our bodies, certain waste products are produced. And it's just the bacteria, you know, all of living things produce an excrement basically. So if you're going to have bacteria, you're going to have, you know, breakdown of food and byproducts, and alcohol is one of the byproducts. A lot of fermented food just have a little bit of alcohol, and alcohol, you know, does affect every cell in the body. That said, I still drink alcohol, and I find that it doesn't really affect me that bad. And anymore, like I drink a lot less now that as soon as I started this diet, I didn't drink hardly at all, but I do have some strong social factors, family and friends included, very close, that, you know, we've always kind of had just like a small amount of alcohol, just frequently, you know what I mean? So, it's just something that I can really contain. I can only just drink like small amounts and I don't feel bad because of it really at all. You know, it does get me a little bit dehydrated, but so because I don't have a problem with it, you know, I'm really not that against it. So with this list, yes, you do pick and choose, but the idea is the knowledge, knowing the truth behind these foods and what's really going on with these foods and the chemistry in your body is a good thing, regardless of the fact of whether you are going to continue consuming them or not. Because knowledge is power. It's just better to know. Like I said, there's this whole list. I pick and choose a few of them. I still eat peppers, and I still, you know, I'll still eat some garlic. I'll still eat this stuff. I just don't do it as much. And I pick and choose which ones I'm willing to, you know, to do. I'm just not eating them on a daily basis. Okay. So, yeah, fermented stuff. Lactic acid is a waste product. It's not good for you, you know. It doesn't make you stiff like lactic acid does whenever you have it, but it just doesn't seem, when you think about it, like, why are we eating byproducts, you know? And yeah, there can be some nutrients in the food, but really, there's a lot more nutrients in the food when it's in its fresh and natural state. Anytime you do anything, you know, there's nutrient loss as a result, and the longer it's held in storage, you know, the less vital things, not only vitamins and nutrients, but of course, when you're talking about like the chi, like the vital energy, that is all gone within like 24 hours of storing, you know, cooking and storing a food. Um, so fermentation, obviously, a lot of them are heated, you know, that's going to kill off nutrients as well. There's actually some different research that I've seen that actually shows that even vitamin B is reduced by fermentation in foods, which is a little bit different than a lot of the research. Basically, some of the research looks pretty shady, and there's actually not a lot of research at all that's been done on things like kombucha and fermented foods. So yeah, so look into that, the B12s and everything of fermented foods. A lot of fermented foods have like salts and not necessarily organic sugar in it. I try to stay away from organic sugar and things like that. And also, a lot of them are done, you know, like I said, with lacto, which would be they use milk and different things as their starters and whatnot in making it. So you gotta be careful about that. Okay, so let's talk about salt for a little while. This is something that I kind of was like, oh, I'm young. Why do I need to worry about salt? And then I realized, like, oh, well, it's part of the diet. So, like, I'll try to start cutting it down. And it took me a little while before I was able to actually cut it down significantly over a period of time in my diet. So, I just want to share with you, Raw Food Explained is where I'm getting a lot of this information from in this video. And it's actually, salt is, you know, the most widely used condiment in the whole entire world. So we Americans use more salt than anybody else, and like disgusting amounts, of course. So as you probably already know, table salt is inorganic mineral compound. It is antibiotic, which if you start to really look into antibiotic, it actually is like anti-cells, anti-cells. So it's deadly to living organisms. So that's interesting because people think about antibiotics, that's a good thing, but really antibiotics are only a good thing if you're sick. So a fatal dose, I thought this was really interesting. It says a fatal dose of salt is actually about 4 ounces at a time. That's not very much. So for children, table salt is actually pretty toxic. And it says that is only 8 times. Those 4 ounces is only 8 times more than what people eat every day usually. So it's crazy. It's in everything. People are even putting it in pet food and baby food. And you know, even if you don't add salt, you still are going to get, the average American diet gets over 6 times what nutritionists consider as safe. So, and there's been new, you know, just in the past couple of years, I think it was last year, 2003, they were going to come out with new guidelines on salt, saying that people should cut down their salt by quite a bit. And of course, the salt lobbyists blocked that getting changed in the American diet. So you got to love democracy, right? Yeah. So it's really important that we pay attention. But so there's some misconceptions about salt. Everybody is all about salt right now. I think when this came out, it's funny that the year that they came out with this, oh, pink Himalayan salt, blah, 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 salt, it's so good for you. That was the exact year that they came out, you know, with these, they tried to come out with these guidelines saying that we should be eating vastly less salt as Americans. So the thing is we don't need salt. We don't need salt at all. People say you need salt, but the only reason they think you need salt is because you need sodium. You do need sodium, but we don't need near as much as we think, and as evident by other people around the world taking in much less sodium. We can get sodium. We can get it from vegetables. Celery has a lot of sodium. I mean, if you're eating vegetables, you're going to be getting enough salt, and it's a better type of salt than this processed salt. You want to talk about traditional foods. Primitive man did never eat salt. American Indians never used salt until the white man brought it over. So it's interesting. A lot of health-minded people are eating no salt at all, and they're perfectly fine and still getting sodium. So Salt, people think that salt makes food taste better. It actually doesn't. What it actually does is alters your taste buds in a way where you're addicted to it. And so you think that you think that salty food is good and you want more food that has salt in it. That's all it is. So you're sitting there thinking that food is tasting better, but it's actually covering up the flavors in your food. Okay. If you just eat salt, it's not appetizing. It's not a good flavor. It actually irritates your taste buds enough um, and makes them more sensitive. So it's like burning the skin off your hands. And I notice this now. I actually noticed this before I read about it, but if I have a lot of salt now, because I'm so used now to eating a lot less salt, I'll actually burn my tongue a little bit, like literally, like it'll be red and painful because I've eaten too much salt. So kind of crazy how we never realize these things. But if you think about it, it's like, how could we say, oh, I feel bad after eating salt. I feel bad after eating dairy. I feel bad after eating meat, because we're eating all these things together. We're eating them all every day. We're eating them all from such a young age that it's impossible to pinpoint, you know, wow, that was that is making me feel bad. And plus your body's like are accommodating and, you know, your organs all like, it's a system, so they rely on each other. And if you have to make accommodations, and sacrifices in different areas, that's how our bodies are so good at, just going with the flow and not getting sick immediately. And you can abuse your body for so long without it, doing anything, because it's got these built-in backup systems. So anyway, salt is not good for digestion. People think it's good for digestion. Salt doesn't digest things. Our body digests things. It's kind of it's a mentality of these salespeople and these marketers saying, well, this does this, this does this, and this does this. Yes, plants do different things, but this is not something that really does that. It doesn't help with anything. It actually blocks membranes. It actually blocks the absorption of food. It inhibits the absorption of through the intestinal membranes, apparently. It upsets the water balance. When your water is out of balance, you're not going to digest your food as well. And there's other, ways that, of course, helping dehydrate you isn't good. So people think that because salt's in your blood, it's got to be good. It doesn't prove anything. A lot of times we've just eaten so much salt that there's continually salt in our blood to try to get rid of it. So people who, oh my gosh, so they have the minimum requirement for salt is 200 milligrams. So most people are consuming 50 to 75 times of that. And it says no national diet in the world contains less than this for salt. Well, that's interesting. But anyway, they're saying basically that there's no reason that should be a minimum. It's silly. There's a lot to it. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but again, rawfoodexplained.com if you want to check it out, go look at it. Salt causes hypertension. It causes high blood pressure. It accompanies coronary heart disease, stroke, heart disease, failure, congestive heart failure, and kidney disease. It's not good for your kidneys. Puts you at a risk. So it's, wow, 2.8% salt, like what we're eating, 2.8% salt. I mean, that's crazy. It's frankly hypertennisgenic and life shortening. It causes swelling of all of your glands. It attributes to constipation and indigestion. It's actually a factor in a lot of skin diseases. It can cause nephritis, which is severe affliction of the kidneys. It's actually deposited all over your body and all of your different cells. So that actually can cause irritation, injury, and death to a lot of different cells that you have. It's toxic. It's poisonous. You don't need it. So, and then really the other side to this is where I'm so adamant about salt as opposed to some of these other things is that I feel it. Okay. When I eat a pepper, which is what I'm going to talk about next, I don't feel it. I don't feel any negative effects besides like the burning of my tongue. Like when I'm eating something spicy, like peppers, or wasabi or something like that. However, when I eat salt, I get bloated immediately. I get really, really thirsty. I really, really feel it now that I don't eat it on a daily basis. So I highly recommend it. And also, the main thing about salt is that it makes you bloated. It makes you retain water. And you'd be surprised at how much of the stuff that you may think is fat that actually is just water. We are actually, if you have a very like obese person, they could be carrying, honestly, 50 to 60 pounds from what I've heard. That would be a high estimate. You know, on average, probably an obese person has 20, 30 pounds of excess water on their body. So that can explain why a lot of these diets, people lose that fast. So anyways, first, really not that great in this diet. However, I continue to eat them. This is one of the things that it's enough pleasure for me, and the payoff is so low that it's fine for me. But they're just saying that, yeah, while it can be good medicine, like I'm saying, the antibiotic properties are not necessarily good for your cells in a large quantity and on a regular basis. Okay, so anything like that, like garlic or peppers that are going to make you cry, they're going to come out in the sweat, you're going to be smelling, you know, some of these things. And a lot of times people think that they're stimulating, that they stimulate our metabolism. They're saying that it's good for us and that it stimulates us and that it's beneficial. And also the fact that it produces like a mucus that people think they're just getting the mucus out, but really it's just so aggravating to our system that it's creating the mucus. So it's really, you know, it doesn't do a whole lot. So, like I said, there may be antibiotic properties that are good when you're sick, but that doesn't mean we need them all the time. Same thing with cooking spices. They kind of get into, and it's funny because this is something that even like Freely, she, I believe, will do cinnamon sometimes too. And they say like cinnamon and all this stuff is not that great. And it's just like there's toxic things in just about everything. You know, you can say, oh, in wheat there's toxic this. Oh, in soy there's toxic that. And obviously in meat there's a lot of toxic stuff, but you just want to get the payoff. And with these, like, this is like, okay, cinnamon, it has tannin. Tannin's toxic to the human system, but that's like one thing. That's one thing. When you take meat, there's like a list of hormones, you know, nasty, just dioxins. I always talk about that first. And it's like so many different things, just the fat content itself, like all this other stuff, vaccines, hormones, antibiotics, pink slime, like everything, like there's a whole list. So anyway, you see how it's easy to like weigh it off. If you really like cinnamon, make sure you get the good cinnamon, mustard, nutmeg, really any sort of spices and condiments. It's like if you can't eat it for a meal, you really shouldn't be eating it. But since you're eating it in such small quantities, like anyways, I don't think it's that bad. But I have heard from Chinese medicine that cinnamon is not that good, so I really don't do it that often. And I also think the warming spices should be done more when it's cold, obviously. There's a reason for that, and you should stick to those types of seasonal foods and advices. So vinegar is something else, and the Bragg's that I had always heard was healthy. I had heard for so long that the apple cider vinegar was so healthy, and really, after looking into it, it makes perfect sense. I never honestly felt that great. Like you get a tingle and you're like, ooh, I'm supposed to be like so energetic now. And I never really honestly felt any real results from that sort of thing. So they're saying, apparently after looking into it, vinegar is actually just not good for our organs. Whatever kind of vinegar it is, doesn't matter what kind. It actually reduces red blood cells, does not help with digestion, and again, harms the kidneys. So they actually say that when you have starches with your vinegar, digestion is actually completely suspended and fermentation rapidly results. So that's really not what you want going on in your tummy. So I think I already talked about onions, herbs. Let's see. Do we have anything else? I think we're wrapping it up here. Yep, pretty much already talked about salt. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get on here and yap at you guys a little bit about this because I know that some of the new people coming in watching some of my videos might start to hear about, oh, like watching other videos and like say, okay, what's she talking about? No salt, none of this. And I just kind of wanted to get on here and let you guys know exactly what my stance is on everything were so that I can be really transparent and open. And again, these these guidelines are not to make our lives more miserable. These guidelines are nothing to get stressed out over. If you guys are just starting, just take everything really slow, get the basics down first, learn as you go, and you'll feel better and you'll start to believe in the diet, to where you don't even need to be like finding out the facts about it, because you just feel so good and nothing can ever change your mind. And for the people who get offended by watching vegans have great health and watching vegans get excited about their food, watching vegans enjoy their food, really honestly, just leave us alone is all I can say at this point, because some people, just like to give other people a hard time and they don't have anything better to do or anything better to talk about. And, some people, it's their way of getting more information. And even if they'd never say it to you, they're really actually interested in this diet. So I know it's hard for us all to deal with. Kudos to every vegan out there who is dealing with all this ignorance out there, because there is so much. And it's so hard for everybody on both sides not to take things personally when we're discussing these, especially when we get passionate. Really, really passionate, because we believe that what we're doing is not only best for us and our kids, but the environment and the earth, all the animals in it. It does become, when you realize we're all connected and that everything is one and the same, including the animals, it really does become personal, and it is kind of hard to separate that. So you got to really give us some credit. But I really honestly believe, like I said, that people just like to mess with the vegans, honestly, because the sheer fact that somebody else has changed their diet, makes them feel like they're less than, or they're inadequate or something, or that they automatically would think that we think that, Hope I'm making somewhat of sense. But anyway, thanks for watching as usual. Leave any questions, comments, etc. Like, subscribe. Thank you. Eat your fruits. Yeah.